Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. We will be continuing B'ezrat Hashem our series on Shir HaShirim. So last week we started off an introduction. We haven't finished completely the introduction. We said we're going to talk a little bit more about the structure of Shir HaShirim. Now, so in the Musar and Kabalah, who are very thorough in their research, they bring the research of the modern historians or Bible or authorities, etc., and they say that Shir HaShirim is not cohesive. They're just a collection of ancient songs. Some want to say that Shlomo Melech didn't write it, etc. So I'm not going to give any value to those things because I want to go with Chazal and our tradition. But even the rabbis and Rashi and Ibn Ezra and our traditional commentaries also say that there's a bit of difficulty in the theme and the flow of the different chapters. So chapter Shir HaShirim is split by the Christian canonizers into 8 chapters, and as we know, it doesn't always fit the chapters that we have doesn't always fit with the actual translation.
When Shlomo Melech wrote it, he wrote it as one text.
Right. So it's actually written, I think, in 18 different, not 8, 18. 18 parts. So if you write it with a scroll, there'll be 18 times where there's like space of 9 letters, parashut. So it's way shorter.
We revert back to that?
In theory, we do. Like if you would read it in a scroll, you'd see that that's how it's split up. We just use the chapters because it went in and it's easier. That's how you reference it. To start changing that would just be in the Torah. For example, this week's parasha B'chukotai starts pasuk Gimel because they decided that the chapter begins the last 2 verses of last week's parasha. But I guess they didn't really have the traditional spacing. So I think what will be important is for us to split it according to the traditional chapters and see how much of it follows on from each other. So Rashi says that the simple translation doesn't necessarily have a flow to it, but the nimshal, the message that Rashi takes from the Midrash and the rabbis, that does have a flow, and it talks about the history of the Jewish people, as we mentioned last week, starting off in Egypt and the Exodus and the Torah, and then the golden calf, and then Israel, and then the Beit HaMikdash, and then the exile of the first Beit HaMikdash coming into the second Beit HaMikdash, the next exile, and eventually the Mashiach. So that's how the rabbis make the flow from the beginning till the end in this order. Ibn Ezra, he does connect the story on a pshat level, and says it's all talking about a young woman who's shepherding sheep and is being sought after by this man. That they both love each other, and they have this love story of trying to search for each other. So what is the nimshal? How would we explain what the essence of the story? Obviously, it's love between a man and a woman. So who's the man and who's the woman? So Rashi goes with the Chazal that it's the collective Jewish people is the woman, and the man is Hashem. Similarly, but slightly differently, Rambam, as well as Malbim and others, say that it's an individual soul. It's kind of the same thing, but it's more personalized, and therefore they don't necessarily explain it as the history of the Jewish people on a macro level, but rather the pinings of an individual soul as they go through the tribulations of life and the difficulties of being human. Basically, a soul.
From the female perspective, or
it goes both. It's constant. It's a dialogue, as we mentioned last week. That it's unique about Shir HaShirim. It's a constant dialogue. There's probably, I'd say it's probably even equal. I actually made I didn't print it out, I made a color-coded Shir HaShirim, which part is the female talking to the male, or just in her own imagination, talking to her friends talking to her. So maybe next time we'll print it and see that.
So the Rambam says that the female is an
individual soul
but the male
searching
is
for
still
Hashem. Yeah.
The other side would be that the Shekhinah is female, right? And we're male.
Right. The Shekhinah essentially is the collective Jewish soul, Knesset Israel, and collective Jewish soul is the experience of every Jew, the essence of the experience of every single Jew, which is the same thing essentially.
So we are the Shekhinah? Like the collective of us?
The parts of the Shekhinah, yeah. That's why any Jew that's in pain, the Shekhinah is in pain. Every Jew that sins, the Shekhinah goes in exile, because the part of the Shekhinah is, because the Shekhinah is essentially Hashem's revelation in the world, so we are part of that revelation. But the Shekhinah is the collective Jewish soul is always one. So that oneness of the Jewish people together as they exist before they getting clothed in individual personalities and souls and circumstances is at least one aspect of the Shekhinah.
The Nana Kovet was Hashem or like Hashem? Or not related?
It's not really related, but if you look in the Ramban on Parshas B'Shalach, Ramban says that V'Hashem hoelech lifneim, V'Hashem is the Shekhinah with Hashem. The Hashem as He reveals Himself in the Shekhinah. So he says that it's even more than just the Shekhinah. It's like the Shekhinah revealing a higher level. But yeah, we'll see more about these things as we go along. Sorry about this. Let me see this last week's. So last week we actually said the story of Shlomo Melech marrying 1,000 non-Jewish wives, and thereby causing essentially the building of Rome and the foundation of Christianity, and of bringing down the Torah to the people. Instead of elevating the world to the Torah, he brought down the Torah to the people, and that is the sin of Adam Rishon, and this one, all the major sins is bringing down the Torah to the people instead of elevating the people to the Torah. Now, I forgot to mention the most important part of it, that the rabbis, it mentions in the Gemara and Sanhedrin mentions, and it's also mentioned in the Midrash on Shir HaShirim, that therefore the Anshe Knesset Agdola, who spoke about all of the people mentioned in the Tanakh, whether they belong in Olam Haba or not, and there's the list of Perek Chelek that starts Kol Israel Yeshlam Chelek Olam Haba, Chutz, right? It's besides for Yeravam, a bunch of people there, Dora Midbar, a bunch of people. So they wanted to include Shlomo in that world, in that hall of infame, as one who doesn't have Chelek Olam Haba, based on the mistake he made. And as they were about to do that, a voice came from heaven and said, "Don't mess with my Shlomo. Al tigu b'mshichai, don't touch my anointed one." And the pasuk in Sanhedrin, the Gemara in Sanhedrin brings a slightly different pasuk that basically, what do you know about who belongs in the Olam Haba? Shlomo Melech, he did something that ended up being catastrophic, but on the highest level, I know what he was doing, and it's going to be rectified, and it's all for the best. In a sense, you could introduce what the Rambam says about Christianity and Islam, that it's actually somehow conducive for Mashiach, because they are the ones that spread the word of monotheism to the world, and then when Mashiach will come, he won't have such a big job, because he'll just have to rectify the details of it. But the point of getting rid of paganism as a way of life is that's what kind of was given to them to do, in an albeit a messed up way, and caused lots of suffering to the Jewish people. And it could be, in a way, it's also what's happening today with all the the human rights and the progressive women's rights, etc., where obviously being nice to the minority and being kind is obviously part of Mashiach's values, but it's being spread in a slightly wrong way, and Mashiach will just have to kind of bring the order and balance to it, but it's already being spread. So albeit Shlomo Melech sinned, and he was, according to the rabbis, he deserved to be included in Elul Chelek Al Haba, as the Rebbe Tzadok HaKohen explains, that actually according to Chachma, according to the level of the Chachamim, he actually deserves to be there, but there's a higher level. Olam Haba is beyond Chachma, and that's why Hashem was telling them that this is already above your pay grade. But the Midrash in Shir HaShirim says a wonderful thing. He says that Shlomo HaMelech is the same as David HaMelech, and he brings a whole list of Shlomo HaMelech. David HaMelech said Shirim, and Shlomo said Shirim, and David said this, and Shlomo did this, and the last thing it says there, just like David HaMelech didn't have any sins, Hashem forgave him for his sins, so too Shlomo HaMelech was forgiven for his sins. And the proof is that he wrote Mishlei Kohelet and Shir HaShirim with Ruach HaKodesh. So really, Mishlei Kohelet and Shir HaShirim, according to this Midrash, was written after he fell from his high level and kind of made the mistake of the way to connect the physical world with the spiritual world. And then he kind of came back and wrote these books, almost like, as you could say, his lessons learned from this mistake. And all these three books, Mishlei is all about, ways of living. Kohelet is going through how vain and empty the physical world is. And then Shir HaShirim is kind of the combination of the three, which according to the Midrash he wrote last, which is kind of going back to the physical world, but going into the essence of it, into the experiences of it, and finding the depth and the spirituality that is to be found within the physical experience. So in a sense, Shir HaShirim is all about the second chance and the coming back down. And Shir HaShirim is actually a mashal. Now, mashal is always bringing down a lofty idea into something that is more understandable. And in a way, that is what his mistake was in the beginning, when he brought down the Torah to something too low. So Shir HaShirim is the rectified version of bringing down the highest, loftiest ideas of godliness in a mutukan version, in a mashal that is holy, and a mashal that is actually is not to be misinterpreted and to be and is actually a gateway into godliness. So actually, this is very interesting that we all know. Shir HaShirim Asher Shlomo, this is the Song of Songs that is written by Shlomo. And the Chazal, the rabbis, say this rule, which is actually written in the Gemara in Shavuot, that every time it says Shlomo in Shir HaShirim, it's referring to Hashem, besides one or two places later on. But every time it says Shlomo, it's referring to Hashem. Why? Because Shlomo means the king to whom peace belongs to. Melech shehashalom shalom. So Shlomo is a name for Hashem, and the Rambam actually brings it halachically. Shlomo is Hashem's name. Now the question is, what does that mean halachically? There is no difference, because if you write the word Shlomo on the paper, you can rub it out, because it's not one of the names that can't be erased. But that's what they ask on the Rambam, what he means by bringing this halachically. But there is halachic status to the name Shlomo, meaning Hashem's name, based on the fact that it's Shalom. So what is Shalom? Why is Hashem called Shalom? It's actually interesting, because this week's parasha we have in one of the blessings, it says V'natati Shalom ba'aretz. And the Ramban there, Rabbeinu Bechai, explained that Shalom is one of Hashem's midah of bringing down Shefa to the world, and that's the midah of Yesod, where Hashem connects to the world through the midah of Shalom, because it makes peace between heaven and earth. And as the pasuk says we say in davening Vayivarech David, it says Kichol b'shamayim uva'aretz. The midah of Yesod is called the everythingness that connects heaven and earth, as the Targum says, the Achid Shmaya Va'ara. So the name how Hashem is referred to in Shir HaShirim is Shlomo, which is a word of peace and wholeness, Shleimut. Shleimut is the purpose of Shir HaShirim, the wholeness, the wholesomeness of the world, to see through the physicality and seeing that it's all part of the same thing, and physicality isn't a contradiction to God, rather it's actually complements. And there's, like we said before, getting married is a wholesomeness, because you have the female to bring out the male. So this world is actually the female of Hashem, and that's the wholesomeness of godliness, when he has the physical world to actually be the Merkava for his will, to bring out his will, to bring out his energy in a physical way. And this is actually also very connected to the Sfirat HaOmer, which we mentioned last week, is connected to the the Lam Natzech of Shlomo HaMelech and the Shem Mem Beit. And that's why Sfirat HaOmer is called Tmimot. Sheva Shabbatot Tmimot. And we also know halachically, if we miss a day, you can't make a bracha anymore because it's lacking in the wholesomeness and the Tmimot. Because Sfirat HaOmer is all about bringing the godliness down into the animal soul, into the vessels, in order to prepare for the Torah to be given in this world. And this is what we're going to see, and this follows on to the next pasuk, which is talking about Kabbalah Torah, which we're preparing for. And the first song, the first desire of this lovesick female is the following 3 psukim. So we're going to read the next 3 psukim in one go, because it's
The first
because the first one is the introduction, Shir HaShirim, and the next 3 is the end of a chapter. So that's the first song that she is speaking. There's actually a machloket in the commentaries. Most commentaries saying that she's speaking directly to her beloved, or she's speaking in a fantasy, thinking about him. But then, as she progresses, she talks directly to him as if he's there. So let's see. She says the following: Yishakeni. He should kiss me, min shikot pihu, from the kisses of his mouth. Ki tovim dodecha, because your love is better miyayin than wine, or the delights of wine. L'reach shemanecha tovim, the smell of your beautiful oils. Shemen turak shemecha, your name is flowing oil. You're known as Mr. Flowing Oil. Al ken alamot ahivucha, therefore young girls, maidens have loved you. Mashcheni acharecha, pull me after you. Narutza, we will run together. Hevi'ani hamelech chadarav, the king shall bring me to his inner chambers. Nagila v'nismachabach, we will rejoice and be happy with you. So that's the first longing of. Oh, sorry, it doesn't finish here. Naskira dodecha miyayin, we will remember your love being better than wine. Meisharim ahivucha, I will love you strongly. Why I have loved you strongly. So there's a few different interpretations of the obvious strong desire that she's mentioning of her past love. She's talking about how she remembers the kisses of the time of the past, the love they had in the past, and she just wants it to happen again and to be brought back into the king's chambers. So we're going to learn Rashi, and we'll try and learn Rashi as much as we can, because Rashi is that kind of balance between the pshat and the nimshal. So Rashi says, Yishakeni min shikot piu, zeh hashir, this song, omeret b'fia begaluta u'ba'almanuta. So as Rashi holds, the Shir HaShirim is talking about a widowed woman who is living through a live widowhood, meaning she's been separated from her beloved and she wants to come back. So she's saying, Mi yiten, if only it can be v'yishakeni hamelech shlomo min shikot piu k'mayaz, he can kiss me on the mouth like he did then. So Rashi says there are places that you kiss people on the hand or on the shoulder. That's one level of kissing. Ach ani mit'ava v'shokeket, I desire and long liyot noheg imi keminhag harishon, for him to be with me in the same way he was in the past, kechatan el kala, like a groom and bride, peh el peh, kissing mouth to mouth. So this is a very interesting thing, which Rashi says in the next Rashi. What is this referring to? V'nemar dugma shelo, what is this? What's the metaphor referring to? Al Shem shenatan lehem Torato. Hashem gave the Torah to the Jewish people. V'diber imahem panim el panim. The giving of the Torah was a face-to-face interaction, like a chatan and kala kissing each other. For otam dudim, and those that beloved experience, odam aravim alehem, is still sweet upon the Jewish people. Mikol sha'ashua, from all other delights. Umuftachim meito lahofia od aleim. And now comes this very powerful thing that Rashi tells us. What are we expecting? What are we waiting for Hashem to give us that we don't have yet? Because Hashem promised us that He's going to come back again. Right? Hashem told us, as Rashi says, the mashal is that she knows that He doesn't really send her away. He only sent her away for now, until things sort themselves out. But He'll be back. And then we'll have another face-to-face, mouth-to-mouth experience, as we had during the receiving of the Torah, leva'er lahem sod ta'ameh, to clarify and give to us the secrets of the reasons and the taste of the Torah, umistar tzufunatea, and the hidden secrets of the Torah, umechalim panav, and we wish and long for Him lekayem dvaro, to keep His promise, v'zehu yishakeinu min shikat piyu. So this is a very powerful thing describing the experience of receiving the Torah as a very intimate union, and the interesting thing is that the Zohar talks about this a lot, and lots of Arizal writings is based on this idea that the most intimate union is the union of kissing, and the Arizal calls it, based on the Zohar, the union of spirit with spirit and spirit. Idabkat rucha berucha. Now, in Matan Torah, it says that the Jewish people, when they came to Matan Torah, it says that they lost their Yetzer Hara. They had no other desire for anything else in the world besides to be doing Hashem's will and to be in dveikut with Hashem. And that's the experience of rucha berucha, is when the Chatan and the Kalah come together in a union where they share spirit and their spirits unite as one. And that's even more, there's a deeper union, it's a more pnimiut union than the physical union, because it's the union of the entire spirit, not the bodies, but the spirit of the person coming together through the mouth. And the Bir Hagra has a very beautiful explanation on this pasuk. And he says a few beautiful things. He says as follows: Pihu is a very interesting word. All the commentaries have a problem with this word, because usually the Hebrew word for his mouth would be piv. Yishakenu min shikot piv. Pihu, he says, is an interesting word. So he says pihu means piha, her mouth, and piv, in his mouth, in one word. So it's describing two mouths becoming one mouth. Now he says this is the secret of the luchot. Why? Because the luchot was 5 and 5, and they came together as the Aseret HaDibrot. So they were written on 2 separate tablets, 5 and 5, right and left, and then the middle is the speech. The speech is what unifies the two right and left as one. And now he says that Hey is the 5 chumashim of the Torah, and the Vav is the 6 Mishnayot, 6 the Shas, the Shishas Darabam Mishnayot. And he says that those two things, the Hey and the Vav, signifies the male and the female, because every time you want to write in Hebrew female, you say Hey, like La is Lamed Hey, male is Lo, Lamed Vav. So that's why Hey and Vav is male and female, and that's the experience of Matan Torah. And he explains that Matan Torah had in it we only got 2 dibrot, 2 commandments from Hashem directly, Anochi and Lo Yilcha. And he says that's when it says when they heard Anochi from Hashem, then they completely became one with Hashem. And when they heard Lo Yilcha, they shouldn't have anything else, they shouldn't have any other gods, that's when they lost the Yetzer Hara. So there was a process. I can't remember the exact word. Let's see if I wrote it down here. So the word of the Medrash is Nitka'ah Torah. When they heard Anochi, the Torah was plugged into the Jewish people's heart, and when they heard Lo yeh lecha, the Yetzer Hara was torn out of their heart. And he says that when a man and woman kiss, there's a love between them, because first of all, they are with each other, and also because they're not with anyone else. So there's the double aspect of Anochi Hashem Elokecha, that Hashem says, I am your God, and you are my people. And Lo yeh lecha is the negative commandment, that we don't follow any other ideas. And he says that's why Anochi is the root of all positive commandments, where in the positive commandments the experience is the love and acting out of love, and the negative commandments is the experience of refraining from action. And he says a very interesting thing. He says everything that has two comes as part of 70. He says as follows. He says the 70 nations. Who are the two top nations? Esav and Yishmael. So everything that has 70 has the two subs. He says the Sanhedrin. There was 70 Sanhedrin, but then there was two more. The Av Beit Din and the Nasi. Those were the two on top. So he says the 70 faces to the Torah, and the two is the Anochi and the Lo yeh lecha. That's the two that come with as the two main mitzvah, the two main energies that we got in the Torah. So that's what he says. Yishakeinu min shikat pihu is referring to the two commandments that we got directly from Hashem in the face-to-face experience. Ki tovim dodecha miyayin, those were better. Yayin is 70. They're better than all the other 70 faces of Torah that we didn't receive from Hashem ourselves. So I think we're finished now, and tomorrow, B'ezrat Hashem, we'll continue.